Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Let's get comfy. Let's get comfortable. Let's get comfortable. There's 25 people on already and there's a few comments. So let's came out. Let's say hello. Let's say good morning to everyone first of all before we get into the Celtic news this morning. That microphone is on. Okay. Yes, sir. Let's just do that, do some technical stuff, and then we'll say good morning to people that are online. There's 28 people online so far. It's fantastic. Right, first up is Michael Ross, Mini Exodus. We need to move on a ton of dead weight, and can we get rid of Lowell as well? Vincent's in the house. Vincent's in from Dublin. Hail, troops. James Smith is in the house from Deary Lanark, and I can confirm it's absolutely miserable in Fife this morning. It's absolutely miserable in Fife. Paul Remy's in the house. DT Boys in the Tarmac. Graham is in the house, and Michael's in the house, Lorna's in the house, Kevin's in the house. That's just the ones that are on commenting, and there is a lot more people online. There's 36 people online now. Fantastic this morning, right? It's obviously came out. It's all over Celtic media. It's all over mainstream media that Yuko Kobayashi is set to end his Celtic wilderness. And let's face it, it's coming. We're going to talk about the squad. I'm going to talk about the squad in this video because we're going to talk about all the players in the squad. And who do you think? I mean, Kobayashi, he needs to go. He's a defender. He's never done it at Celtic. He struggled for getting game time. It's suggested that he could go out on loan. Should we just sell him? He was signed under Ange Postecoglou, the centre back, and he couldn't force himself into the team. He's yet to play a single game under Brendan Rodgers. Even when we had the defensive crisis, he was set to go this last summer. He was set to go last summer, but he's going to be one of a number of players, Celtic players, that will go out either on loan or permanent deals in January. And with Marco Tilo also talking about a temporary move away from Celtic. Let's face it, Kobayashi is 23-year-old. Is at that age where he should be trying to sort of force his way into the team? He's struggled to get involved. He had an injury at the start of the season, and that sort of went against him for the fact that he couldn't get that loan move in the summer. So let's say good morning to some more people. First of all, Steve, good morning to you. Hopefully we keep Turnbull and get the dead. I've got a funny feeling Turnbull's made up his mind, Steve. We'll talk about the players in the squad in a minute. And Angelo, good morning to you from a foreign land. Thank you for that also. Right, let's get to the squad. I want to talk about the squad because let's look at the goalkeepers first of all. The goalkeeping situation is a situation that we've all been speaking about for about a year now, a year and a half at Celtic. And we knew that we needed a new goalkeeper. Joe Hart's done fantastically well, but he is at that age where we really need a keeper that is a bit more live wire and then can move a bit faster, let's say, because Joe Hart isn't the fastest goalkeepers, and he has cost us a few times. And he's playing better this season. Let's give him the credit where credit's due. He is playing better this season, but we do need a better goalkeeper. Scott Bain is going to be kept at Celtic. He was given a 3-year contract just in the summer. He's going to be staying at Celtic, obviously, for the Scottish contingent. And then you've got Benjamin Siegrist. I think the less we say about Benji Siegrist, it's going to be one of the most bizarre signings that we've ever made. He's had his slight chance at Celtic, but I think he will be one that will go out the door also. Let's get to the big issue, the defence. In the start of the season, we had a defensive crisis, it was said. The media was saying that Celtic have got a defensive crisis, and no one could take advantage of it. No one could take advantage of the Celtic crisis that we had, the crisis that we had in defence, and no one has been able to take advantage of that to any level. And when you look at the players that we do have in defence, it's no wonder that Kobayashi is going to be the first to leave. Let's look at the back four. And at number 2, we've got Alistair Johnston. Alistair Johnston, fantastic player. Hasn't hit the heights that he hit last season, but I expect more from him, and especially when it comes to the Champions League. I think he will grow in stature as a player. And then you've got the one and only Greg Taylor, number 3. Greg Taylor. He's a bit like Marmite, Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor, you either like him or loathe him. It was only a couple of seasons ago that everyone to a man, every Celtic supporter around the land wanted Greg Taylor out of Celtic. He's turned his career around. and he's a mainstay in the team. But we do need another left back to give him good competition. And then in the summer, we brought in Gustaf Lagerbielke, who's number 4. Gustaf Lagerbielke is a young lad from Sweden, and he's one of those players that is young and he's a prospect. So let's see what we've got to come from him. And then we'll talk about the number 5 in our defence. The one and only, the man that was on his way out the door. He was out on loan last season. He has had a fantastic season. People are now talking about him as being player of the season. I said to you months ago, don't be surprised if Liam Scales gets most improved player of the season. Could he now get man of the season? Could he get player of the season? Liam Scales as a most improved player? Yes, definitely. Most consistent? Yes, definitely. And he's up there. Take away from what the people are doing up front and goal scoring, and that's their job. But when you see what Liam Scales has done, our number 5, he's having a fantastic season and he won't be going anywhere. Our number 6 was brought in to cover defence. He was brought in on a short-term loan from Liverpool, and Nat Phillips. A bit underwhelming, Nat Phillips, if you ask me personally. The fact that he hadn't played since about January, February this year, it was always a strange one. But the manager knew him. The manager knew him from his time at Liverpool, and he wanted to bring him in. So I think Nat Phillips will go back. So that's 2 out of our defence. And let's say that's some amount of players that we've got in defence so far. So the first one that's going to go is obviously Kobayashi. We'll talk about him in a second. But the second one will be Nat Phillips. And then we've got our number 17 that we spent a lot of money on. A lot of money was spent on Big Rocky. Big Rocky, our number 17, we spent a lot of money on him. And a lot has got to be expected of him, especially when it comes to the price tag. And I think he will come good in the future. So he won't be going out the door. So then we get to our number 18, Yuki Kobayashi. Yuki Kobayashi, he's only played 7 times for Celtic. And let's face it, the fact that he was injured, he's not been able to do a lot at his time. He was brought in on a free with Ange Postecoglou, knowing him as from his time in Japan. And it's time for him. I think it's definitely time for Kobayashi to go. He's never managed to do it. And then we talk about the big man, our number 20, our rock, not the man Rocky, but the one and only Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's the mainstay in the defence, along with the one and only Liam Scales. That's the partnership that everyone is going to have to try and break up this season. That's the partnership that I did say months ago that will be the partnership once Cameron Carter-Vickers is fit. That will be the partnership that takes us on to the end of the season and winning the league. Now, next up is our little man from Argentina. The number 25, Bernabe. Bernabe's been a bit of a disappointment. We paid good money for him. He's not been able to force his way past the one and only Greg Taylor. Have we seen enough of Bernabe? A lot of people have said, look, he's not Celtic class, but have we seen enough of him? It's hard for some players sometimes coming in from South America, and it's an interesting one. He is a bit out of the picture. He did make the last squad day. He was on the bench. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bernabe in the future. And then you've got Tony Ralston. Tony Ralston's number 56. He's been a mainstay in the team for the last couple of seasons. Tony Ralston had that fantastic goal a couple of seasons ago that helped us win the league up in Ross County. He's a fantastic squad player. He's a bit of a... he's a no-nonsense player, is Tony Ralston, and he will stay with Celtic, obviously, due to the Scottish connection. And then our number 57, which is Stephen Welsh. Stephen Welsh has just signed a new extended contract also, and then got injured the next day. It's just the way it's going with Celtic just now, isn't it? But he's coming back to fitness, so the manager has high hopes from Stephen Welsh. Give me your thoughts on Stephen Welsh in the comments. I'll get to the comments in a second. I'll get to them now, in fact, before we talk about the midfield players. So we've got 2 defenders I reckon will definitely be out the door this coming transfer window in January. I think that the 2 defenders that we spoke about will definitely leave, Kobayashi and Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips is obviously just on loan. They won't do anything with that. He's on loan. They'll say, thanks very much for coming in and helping us. You can go back to Liverpool and regain your fitness there. And he's been okay, but is he really what we need when you look at the size of the squad? I don't think so. I think he'll go back down south. We've got enough people in the squad just now to take us through to the end of the season. And then let's see how good Rockier and Gustav Lagerbielke. Gustav. Laga, Gustav. Anyway, let's move on for that. Let's get your comments this morning, because I've been talking for a good bit. Anyway, we've got quite a lot of people back online. And let's jump back to the beginning of the comments. Exodus. Here, been to there. Got there, right. George, you're next up. Morning, Baz. What's the heads up about the Hujidonk or the Japanese boy? I think the Japanese boy will leave us, if you're talking about him. Van Hooijdonk, I'm not too sure about that. I don't. When it comes to the type of player that he is, and he's been that disruptive, Celtic have said that they've made an interest. It'll be, is it? My honest opinion is he's a good player to come in on loan. Just for the end of the season to help us out. But the fact that we've got so many players away in January for the Asia Cup. Morning all. Chilpill keeps missing these lives. You're on live. You're on Chilpill. You're keeping getting them, or you're way back to work. James Smith says it needs to be trimmed. Kobayashi, Mikey Johnson, McCarthy, Benji all need to go. Yes, they need to go and freshen up just to get rid of the wages, if you ask me. Not that we need the money. And today is all about the money. The AGM does start at 11:30, so that'll be interesting. When you look back at the recruitment over the years under Ange, some of it is turning out to be quite questionable. And that was a worry at the time. Chilpill says Scales can cover at left back also and give Taylor a rest. Exactly. But what about Bernabe? And where's going him? You only missed 5 minutes, Chilpill. Yep. Good morning, Lanky. Scales, big love hearts. I said Scales, Lanky. You did. You said Scales and O'Reilly would be our best players, and Matt to score more than 20 goals. We both called that at the beginning of the season, Lanky, and you were right. And I did say, look, this guy's going to what a turnaround he's having in his career. Mikey Johnson is getting rave reviews this morning. Really? He might get rave reviews for. I just don't get that. I just don't get it. Mikey Johnson's has he had enough time? Of course he's had enough time. He's been here for years. When Damien Duff was here, he was highly praised. Mikey Johnson. He's not got what it takes. He's one of the best young talents to see in training. There's a lot of players that come in at Celtic and they kind of do well in training and that, but when it gets to it, they just don't do it. Kevin's in the house. Good morning, Baz. From sunny Parkhead. I was going to try and get along to Parkhead today, but I can't get a lift along when everyone's working, and I'm not taking council transport because I've not got enough time in the day for that today. Anyone see Ireland last night? No, I didn't see the Ireland game last night. Lanky says, I said the other day that Sengi, Bigris, and Yuki Awata, Mikey Johnson all to leave in January, but that's just your opinion. I think you're not going to be far off the mark. What do you think about Marco? What do you think about Tito? If you're on about Marco Tilo, I think that it's one of the strangest things. Get Peter Lawwell out in January. Watching Taylor play for Scotland just proves he's got it at a higher level. We need to give Bernabe a shot. I think we do. I think the guy's entitled to a shot. He's on a good contract, so I don't think he will be one that leaves. Can I ask who buys these players? Well, a lot of the players that we're talking about were Ange Postecoglou's players. Ange Postecoglou gave the nod to bring these players in. I rate Welsh, but we've got Scottish players because they've got more dedication and know what it means to compare to others. Lanky, the only problem that I've got with I look back over when you look at the bigger picture, it's okay having a good amount of Scottish players, but when you look at what we've managed to do on the European stage over the last couple of years, the Scottish players haven't done it for us and haven't got to the dizzy heights that we need to do on a consistent basis. That's why I think we need to bring in good experienced European players, to help us on the European stage. We need to keep the mainstay of our Scottish players, obviously, but we also need to bring in good European players that can help us progress in Europe. The Breakfast Show. Yeah, that's a new thing. We'll call it the Breakfast Show. The Baz Breakfast Show. Lagerbielke was named the best defender in Sweden and has hardly played for us. Get real. Lagerbielke, he was the best player in Sweden going on his form last season at his club. He's not had the best of starts for Celtic, but he is only young. He's only young, remember. He's the same age as players that are getting loaned out from us just now through our youth system. So we need to keep this in mind when we talk about the players. He is the exact same age as the players that are getting loaned out just now. So, it's mental how quick we judge players. It is true. Scales couldn't cut it left back for Dons. Dons had a good season last year. They came from behind to finish third. So you've got to give Liam Scales a bit of Mikey Johnson, Irish Pelly. Jesus. My exact words were, if Brendan can get a tune out of Matt, like he did with Madison, we'll have a player on our hands and he'll score 20 goals. You did say that, and I think he will score 20 goals. And also, I think when his time to get sold, I think he'll go for big money. Big money. Morning to you, Paul. How are you today? It's very difficult to get rid of dead weight in our squad. Right, let's get back to the squad. I'll catch up with some of the comments in a minute. Let's get back to the midfield. We've spoke about the defence, and I think there'll be two defenders that'll go. Obviously, Nat Phillips will go back down to Liverpool. His loan term deal will be up. He was only on loan until January. And then Kobayashi. Kobayashi was meant to leave us in the summer, but he got injured. He's now back to fitness and he will be out the door. So that's two defenders away. We've got plenty of cover. I mean, when you look at it, we've got Alistair Johnson, Greg Taylor, Lagerbielke, Scales, Phillips, Rocky, Kobayashi, Carter Vickers, Bernabei, Ralston and Welsh all under their fence. That should be enough to see us through to the end of the season, getting rid of those two that was in question. Right, let's talk about midfield. This is where it gets interesting, because number 14 is in it, David Turnbull. David Turnbull knows how to score a goal for the good of his career. Unfortunately, I think he will move on. Unfortunately, I think David Turnbull will move on. I think he'll look at his game time that he's had the last couple of seasons, and he's felt a bit hard done by, especially by the last manager. A lot of people said, look, he's not Celtic class. David Turnbull turns around and quietens the fans and says, look, I do my talking on the pitch. I don't listen to what the fans are saying. And he knows he's a good player. Paul Lambert has come out and said at his age, at the age David Turnbull is at now, 24, he is better than what Paul Lambert was at that age. Could it be the fact that Celtic should try their utmost to keep a hold of David Turnbull because he's got his best years to come in front of him? He does have his best years. And for a player like Paul Lambert, who, done it at the highest level, won the Champions League in Germany, been there, done it, won medals with Celtic. He knows a thing about playing in that position. He has said that David Turnbull is better than him. So give me your thoughts on Turnbull. Personally, I think that Turnbull's probably made up his mind and he will go to pastures new. He'll go to the Championship down in England where he'll get regular game time. He can walk into any team down there and he'll play week in, week out, and he'll score every second week. I'd take Turnbull to score every second week if he makes a move. The big one that came in from Celtic, number 15, a kind of prospect player, is Odin. Big Odin Ohm obviously came in central midfield. He's not had the best of starts. He got a little bit of a sending off, which didn't help him in the Champions League. But he is a prospect player, is Odin, on number 15. And then we go to our number 16. Number 16, who pledged his allegiance to Ireland. Scottish born. Probably signed for Celtic too late in his career. We all wanted him when he was younger, when he was at Hamilton, but he decided to move south, and because Celtic wouldn't pay the money. James McCarthy. Yes, the one and only James McCarthy. Where is he? Has anyone seen James McCarthy? Does anybody know James McCarthy? Does anybody know if he's alive and okay? It's like Finding Nemo looking for James McCarthy. It is like Finding Nemo. James McCarthy should be out the door because, let's face it, he's taken a fantastic wage out of Celtic over the last 3 years and he's done absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Then we look at, so that's two maybe that could be away in January, obviously James McCarthy, and I think if David Turnbull's going to go, I think Celtic should try and sell him in January. If he's made up his mind and he's told the manager that he's not going to sign a new contract at Celtic, do not leave it to the last minute, Celtic. Just sell him just now. Just sell him just now. As hard as that decision is, and as good a player he is, we need to get something back on that 3.25 million, I think it was, investment that we made in the player. We need to get that. We need to get some kind of money back for him, even if it's only 500 grand. We don't need the money, but from a business point of view, he's a type of player. He's a squad player. Really, he does have goals in him. But when we're looking from beyond this season, we're getting to that point in the season now where we need to be looking beyond January. We need to be looking at next season. If he's not going to sign a contract, do not let him go for nothing. Just sell him in January. So I think David Turnbull might be one that's sold from our midfield. McCarthy needs to be paid off his contract and gone. So the first three that we spoke about, obviously Turnbull, Odin and McCarthy, we're down 2 already, I think, in January. Odin will be staying. Next up is our number 22 is Kiwon, the Japanese South Korean player is Kwon. Still to see a bit from him, but I think he is one for the future also. And then Tomoki Iwata, what's your thoughts about him? I think he could be a player that might go out on loan. It's a hard one because we did bring in Paulo Bernardo. Paulo Bernardo seems to be getting a shout before Tomoki Iwata. I think Tomoki Iwata could be the third from midfield that might go out on loan this January. We get to Paulo Bernardo. We do have him on loan from Benfica. Paulo Bernardo, he is getting his chance. We've brought him in on a loan to buy. So we've got him until the end of the season. We've got him also on the option to buy. It'll be interesting to see if Paulo Bernardo can do enough between now and the end of the season. Obviously, he's going to be used as a squad player in that midfield. But, with the one and only Hatate out, it could be his chance to shine. Now, the man of the moment, our number 33. We're talking about him last night. His granny wants to come to Celtic. And see him play for Celtic. She was in hospital and the doctors give her some serious painkillers to try and help her calm down. So one and only Matt O'Reilly, the guy that was playing probably the lowest league that you could ever find at MK Dons just recently. He left Fulham to play regular football to kickstart his career. He thought he wasn't going to make it at Fulham. He knew he wasn't going to make it at Fulham, so he decided to leave and go to MK Dons. Celtic knew there was a clause in the contract to buy him for 1.5 million. Fantastic piece of business by Celtic. And Matt O'Reilly will go from Celtic one day. But when he goes from Celtic, it'll be for 20 million plus. Bear with me. I think he will go to one of the highest clubs in Europe. And I think it might not be even the English Premiership, but he will go for 20 million plus. Now, the one that we're talking about, the Ange Postecoglou, has also been sniffing about Rio Hatate, our number 41. He is injured at the moment. We do not want to see him go, but with the Ange Postecoglou connection, could be the fact that he does come in for Rio Hatate and try to steal him down south. It was said at the beginning of the season that Rio Hatate's head had been turned, with speculation that he might be sold in the summer, but Ange didn't come in for him, and neither did anyone else, and he is at Celtic. So let's get him fit and let's get him playing to the end of the season and see what he can do. Obviously, he will be away at the Asia Cup, which will give the likes of Paulo Bernardo a chance when the likes of Hatate is away from that midfield at the Asia Cup. Paulo Bernardo needs to step up to the mark with Matt O'Reilly, heads held high champions, and it is champions in waiting time of the season come January. You're getting there, you're over the summit of the December, you get that little run in January with the games starting back late January. That's when Celtic tend to go on a good run, and that's when we know that we're going to be champions again. So Paulo Bernardo will step in for Hatate when he goes to the Asia Cup. Then our captain, the one and only, he's like me and you, he loves the Celtic too, Callum McGregor. What can we say about Callum? He's been there, he's done it with Celtic, he knows what it's like to win, he knows when to get dug in. He was absolutely fantastic for Scotland the other night, and he'll be such an important player. He will be buzzing the fact that he's going to Germany, he'll be buzzing that he's going to another Euros. He will use that to make sure that he is in peak fitness, and he will drive Celtic on for the rest of the season, I am sure. And then there is the one and only number 49, who's been there and done it for years in the midfield at Celtic. He is the one that's took years for him to get a Celtic song written about him. He is a complete legend in my eyes, James Forrest. James Forrest, who is going to be with us until he hangs up his boots. He still can do it on the wing. Statistically, he's still one of the fastest players on the pitch, Brendan Rodgers says, in training. And It'll be interesting. He will get game time. He knows he's going to be a squad player, but he is an impact player that can come on and still come in from the wing and score goals. So from that midfield, I think James McCarthy, if we're one, will be at the door. David Turnbull, if he does not sign a new contract, will be the second one out the door in January. There's no use in keeping David Turnbull to the end of the season just to let him go for free. That's not good business. It's we can't afford to let another player go for nothing. We let a player go in the summer for 4.5 million. We let that slip out our hands. David Turnbull, get 500 grand in for him, or tell me in the comments, should we keep him just to the end of the season to make sure that he can score goals for us? He can score goals from that midfield. It's a difficult one. It's a decision that Celtic are going to have to make. If he's not going to sign a new contract, me personally, is just sell him. Sell him and get some money in for him, and then get the players in that is going to take us forward next season. Paulo Bernardo, get him on the pitch, get him that game time. Get him having that partnership with Matt O'Reilly. And then the other one, obviously, that's going to go might be Tomoki Iwata. So there could be 3 goes from the midfield. Could be 3 players leaves for the midfield for a mini exodus for Celtic. Right, before we get to the forwards, let's jump back to the comments. There are 108 people online at this moment. Buys when you're buying an up-to-date camera on your cons. It's not the camera, it's the lighting in this room. Unfortunately, it's the right. But I am getting a new laptop the next week or so. Yes. So yeah, it's just the lighting in this room. If I sit back this way, I'll put it this way. It's just the lighting in this room. It's terrible. Once I get back home and get into the studio, it'll all be fine. Right, let's jump forward. I'm going to miss out a lot of the comments. I'm going to jump forward to the most up-to-date ones. Right. McCarthy just sit and take the money. He's not interested in playing football anymore. I think you're right about McCarthy. I don't think he's not interested in playing football. He just wants to take the money. People are obsessed with pace. And yeah, pace doesn't make you a great player. When you look at the likes of Turnbull, should we keep Turnbull? Tell me in the comments. Should we keep Turnbull to the end of the season? Stephen got a few of his pals. That's maybe where McCarthy is hiding in Matt O'Reilly's grand's broom cupboard. Is that where Matt O'Reilly's hiding? James McCarthy's hiding. We need to loan out a few of the Scottish. We need to loan out to Scottish clubs so they get used to the game in the SPF. Should we loan them out to Scottish clubs? I don't know about that one. Not too sure about that one. Not too sure. Turnbull, Chilpel says Turnbull's no pace. He doesn't have pace, but Paul Lambert didn't have the great pace. Paul Lambert didn't have the most amazing pace, but he knew how to strike a ball fair way outside the box, and Paul Lambert said that look, he's better than him. So it's a tough one. It is. Keep Turnbull only for the Scottish count. But what if he doesn't sign a contract? James McCarthy is a myth. He is that. James McCarthy is the invisible man. Turnbull. It'd be good to keep Turnbull for the Scottish contingent, but is he going to be happy just being a squad player and getting time back on? He's at the stage of his career where he can go out and play anywhere, and he'll be able to walk into any team and play week in, week out. I like Turnbull. I want him to stay. Yep, I think he is a good player, and I think he does have. I know he's got goals in him, and he does like to do his talking on the pitch. He's not really a social media type, which is great. But it's all going to come down to his agent, I'm afraid, and whether or not he can. Whether Brendan can convince him to stay also. It's not just about that. It's whether Brendan can convince him to stay and be a squad player. Maybe we could swap Milder's legs for Turnbull's. Yeah, do a transplant. Steve says Matt O'Reilly will be 30 million plus when he finally leaves Celtic. Right, let's get back to the forwards. And there's obviously going to be a lot of talk about one of them. And the first one we're going to talk about is our number 7, Lewis Palmer. Lewis Palmer played full 90 minutes for Honduras. He is not injured. The media, all the nonsense. I did say that it was lost in translation. And I did say that the injury wasn't bad. He played for full 90 minutes. They didn't get the result they wanted against Mexico. But Lewis Palmer had a full 90 minutes and is not injured. Fantastic news for us. Lewis Palmer's going to be brilliant for us. He's making us completely forget about the player that was sold for 25, 26 million or whatever it was last summer. And let's see how Lewis Palmer can crack on. I'm expecting big things for Louis Palmer. Let's see what song they come out from. Little Louis, French Kiss would be a cracker. And Kyogo, our number 8, will lose Kyogo in January to the Asia Cup. We are going to lose Kyogo in January to the Asia Cup, and we need to bring in another striker to replace him. So we know that he is going to be here. Now, the big one is, and a lot of people have been talking nonsense, pure nonsense about our number 11. He is out injured at the moment. He is due back in December, and there was a lot of speculation, a lot of nonsense put in the media that he's going to leave Celtic. He will not leave Celtic, and especially at this window. Liel Labada, our number 11, will not leave Celtic at Christmas. That's just my personal opinion. I think Brendan Rodgers has spoken to him. He knows that he'll do his talking on the pitch. Get away from the noise of all this stuff that's going on politically. Concentrate on your football. Do your talking on the pitch when you come back. He will not leave Celtic. He's still young. He still wants to prove himself. If he goes into the Champions League next year and he does it in the Champions League, he'll get his big move. If he moves from Celtic just now, he will not get a big move to a big team, the top end of the English Premiership, a top team in Spain, top team Germany or something like that. He'll get mid-table, he'll get lower leagues than in England, and that would be the wrong move for him if you ask me personally. He will not leave Celtic this window. That's me stating it. I don't think he will, and I'm not hearing anything to suggest otherwise. Now, another player that we've got in the wing that we'll probably end up losing in January to the Asia Cup is Yang. Yang is a bit more musclier than the one and only Louis Palmer. He's a great guy to have on the wing. It's going to be interesting. I'd love to see him on one wing and Louis Palmer on the other. That would be fantastic to see, but whether we see that or not in January is yet to be said. And then our one and only, our second striker, our number 19, who we will lose in January also, our South Korean O. He is determined to go to the Asia Cup. A lot of people say that he should stay here and play for Celtic. No, he shouldn't. That's like asking Callum McGregor not to go to the Euros next summer. He should go and he should get that experience of playing at that higher level. He has said that playing in the SPFL is great warm-up for him playing against Japan. I'm not sure if it was yesterday he was playing against Japan or today. And then our number 23, the man, the myth, the Australian, Marco Tillo. Marco Tillo is the number 23. He's been back home. He played about 20 minutes or something. I don't even think it was 20 minutes. I think it was about 8 minutes or something for the under-23s for Australia. And he's now been talking back in Australia saying that he wants to go out on loan to get game time. If he's not going to get a game for Celtic, he wants to go out on loan. Well, Marco, if you're going to start pumping your gums like that, you're going to end up going one way, and that's probably back to Australia on a permanent basis. Our number 38, the one and only boy for Japan, the Baldy. Big up the Baldies. Got to love a shaven head. I love it. The one and only Dyson Maeda. There's been a lot of speculation that Ange Postecoglou might come in for Dyson. I don't think he will leave Celtic. I think he's an honourable man. These guys are generally honourable. I think they will only be sold if Celtic want them to go. They will not push it. They will not push it out the door. He will not demand to go down to Spurs. I think that he'll enjoy himself at Celtic and he wants to prove himself in the Champions League. And I don't think that Ange Postecoglou or Spurs will finish high enough in the league to go directly into the Champions League next season. They'll need to go through qualifiers. But anyway, moving on from that is the one and only, the one that they've all been raving about in Ireland. Our number 90, squad player number 90 is Mikey Johnson. That's the same 90, but it's got 19 on that picture. Anyway, it doesn't matter what squad number he is. Mikey Johnson is the Marmite of Celtic, is the winger that's had more chances than David Beckham with his missus for cheating. Mikey Johnson, I think he's at the stage of his career now. He does only have 6 months left. He was told to prove himself for a new contract. Has Mikey Johnson done enough to prove himself to Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic team to suggest that he'll get an extended contract? Does he come under the Scottish quota or does he come under the Irish quota? That's the thing. So, who do we think will leave out of the forwards in the coming window? For me, I think there's only going to be one. I think there'll be Marco Tillo. I think he might go on loan. And that's it. That's the players that we have out. There is a lot of players out on loan this season already. We'll talk about them in a second. We have what? 10 players out on loan already, and we'll talk about them just in a moment when we get back after some of the comments. Like, what is going on? Abada will go in the summer, says Paul Beard. Abada will go in the summer. If he goes in the summer, will he go because I don't know. I don't think he will go in the summer. I don't think he will go in the summer. Is that light? The lighting in here is terrible. Can't wait to get back to the studio. I've got 4 nights. Jesus. Palmer's been tremendous. Yes, it has to be. I'd love to see how much wages are paid out just to these players injured. That's an interesting one. But obviously the big news is Rangers are paying out more in wages than Celtic are, which is funny as anything because they're going to the liquidation part 2 will probably come in its way soon. Tamax, all those BAMs will be greeting at the pace he leaves Celtic. Bye-bye, Palmer. Bye-bye, Palmer. Really? Do you think Lewis Palmer will leave Celtic in the window? I don't think so. Crystal ball time, eh? Yeah, it is crystal ball time. Hope to see Tillo. Let's face it, Tillo is not the player he was touted to be. Yes, I think so. It's a weird one, that. The whole Marco Tillo thing is a weird one. But he was brought in and good money, and he was a prospect. He was just a prospect. Right, it's that time of the video. We're going to talk about our players that are already on loan, out of the club. We've spoke about some players, a number of players that need to basically leave the club. When you think about it, if we didn't have these players out on loan, we would have some size of a squad. First of all, we'll talk about the goalkeeper, Toby. Young Toby, he is out on loan to the Austrian team, and he's been loaned out for the full season. I think he's one player that it's a hard one when you've got a young goalkeeper that's put out on loan. You don't know if it's going to be good for them or hinder their career. We do have a goalkeeper in Benji Siegrist that really needs to go out on loan or be sold permanently because he's nowhere near it. We need to bring in a goalkeeper that is first team ready and spend a bit of good money on him. The next one I want to talk about is a young Ben McPherson. He's out on loan at Queen's Park until the end of the season also. It'd be interesting to see him coming back. He is a defender. We do have a lot of young defenders out on loan. Adam Montgomery. I thought young Montgomery should have stayed at Celtic. Should we have put him out on loan? He's one of those ones that were just on the fringes. He was sent out to Fleetwood to help Scott Brown, and for Scott Brown to bring him on as a player. And a bit the same as another player we're going to talk about in a second. But Scott Brown got the sack, unfortunately. So Adam Montgomery is now down at Fleetwood thinking, the hell was the point of this? I was meant to come down here to work with Brownie so that Brownie has still had that link with Celtic. It was just unfortunate circumstances that has led to Adam Montgomery going down. I think he should be one that should be on the periphery of the team and getting some game time now and again just to bring him on as the player. But the manager's seen it fit at the time because Scott Brown was the manager and you knew that we'd get game time with Scott. So I'm not too sure how he's doing down there just now. Next one is the forward, the striker, young Johnny Kenny. He's went back to Shamrock Rovers and he is due back this month. He is due back at the end of this month, young Johnny Kenny. Will he be the striker that Celtic need to help us cover the striker losses that we've got? Is he good enough? Tell me in the comments, is young Johnny Kenny good enough to step back into the boots of Kyogo when he disappears for a month off to the Asia Cup? Another defender that's went to Austria is young Matthew Anderson. He's been loaned out for the full season also. And then we have one that's been loaned out for quite a while now, is Ideguchi. Ideguchi was meant to be the best of the Japanese players that came to Celtic. He did get injured and then he didn't manage to get back anywhere near the team. When he came to Celtic at the time, the same time as all the rest of the players that came, Ideguchi on paper and all the commentators from Japan were saying that Ideguchi is the best one you're getting. He's the best player, but he's never made it and he's went back to Japan until January. until January. So it'll be interesting to see when he comes back in January to see if he can work his way back into the first team, or will he be loaned out again? And then we'll look at the young Ben Summers. Ben Summers was an interesting one. He was loaned out to Dunfermline. Ben Summers, he was on the edge of the team. He was sort of getting in the squads. I think if they're good enough, keep them at Celtic. You know, it's fine putting them out to the likes of Dunfermline and getting them game time, but I've not followed his career at Dunfermline to see if he's getting game time and if he's progressed. If he's good enough, keep him at Celtic and get him in the squad. We have a massive squad. Maybe it's time to bring players like that back, but he has been loaned out for the full season, so we won't see Ben Summers until next season. He was given an extended contract, remember, for another year. His contract was extended for another year to go out and get game time. So was Bosun Lawwell. Bosun Lawwell went out to Fleetwood Town also to go to be with the one and only Scott Brown, who has since left. And Scott Brown's Instagram is absolutely hilarious because he's obviously back in training to try and keep his fitness up, and he's struggling. He's struggling after years of training with Celtic and training every day. He's now out pounding the streets, and he's also back at the gym in Edinburgh. So his Instagram's hilarious. But Bosun Lawwell, defender, went to Fleetwood Town. I thought he's one that we should have maybe kept in the squad also. When you look at the injuries that we had at the beginning of the season, should Bosun Lawwell have been given his chance? Big bruising guy, he won for the future, but he's been loaned out for the whole season. So it'll be interesting to see him when he comes back. And then there's Liam Shaw, midfield player, who's been sent back down to Wigan Athletic. I'm sure it was Sheffield Wednesday that Liam Shaw came from. High things were expected of him. I think we got him on our free, didn't we? But he's not done it, and he's back down at Wigan Athletic. And then our number 9, our winger, our blonde-haired beauty, the one and only Said Haksabanovic, who's at Stoke. If you're going to go in a huff, you want to go to a better team than Stoke. And Said Haksabanovic, will he get back to Celtic? I don't think that he really wants to come back to Celtic. I think he's done his time at Celtic and he wants to stay at Stoke. So the players that are going to go, we spoke about them. The players that are out on loan, I wonder how many of them will actually make it at Celtic. There's probably not going to be too much of them. So let's get back to the comments before we finish off this video, because we've been going for an absolute day and an age here. Oh my days. We've been going for 43 minutes this morning. Celtic are not receiving a fine for Palestine flags. Yes, they're not. Let me just go back to the comments. Breaking: Celtic fined by UEFA. And I thought that would come out yesterday. Right, Paul, I'm going to look up the news because Paul has said Celtic hit with UEFA final for set of proactive display. Pyro. It's not for the banners. It's when was the right? Wait a minute till I catch this. Celtic have been hit with a UEFA fine over offensive and proactive displays against Atletico Madrid. Celtic have been hit with a new €29,000 fine over a series of incidents in the Champions League clash with Atletico Madrid in October. The largest of the fines will cost the club. Wait a minute, this could be football. No, it's not. It's the misses. Celtic being fined. The largest of the fines will cost the club $17,500. Comes from proactive message of an offensive nature undertaken by the Palestine flags display. UEFA rules don't allow for flags. Right, this is contradicting what came out yesterday. The other two fines of $3,500 for lighting fireworks, as well as an $8,000 fine for blocking passageways inside Celtic Park. Now that's an interesting one. Who was blocking passageways and what passageways were getting blocked? Because you've got to remember the Green Brigade weren't in the section for that game. So who was blocking passageways at Celtic Park? They're getting an €8,000 fine for blocking of passageways, according to this report. Let me just see if I can get the actual... There's only the one site that's coming up with it so far. We'll wait on that one, and I'll try and get some more updates with that. But it is only Football Scotland that have come out with that, and they haven't So footballscotland.co.uk. Mark Dougal, the live sports writer, has put this one out this morning. It has linked to the Champions League. It's fucking just linking this. I'll try and look for some more information about that and see. It is only Football Scotland that has broke that news this morning. That there is no other outlets talking about it that I can see. Let's just jump back to the comments. It's fake news. So according to this, according to Football Scotland, they've been hit with 3 fines. 17,500 comes from a proactive message of a offensive nature understood by the Palestine flags. It's saying that can't be for that game. I'm not going to talk anymore about it. It's on the footballscotland.co.uk site. Go there and check it out and see what you think about it. There's no other publication talking about it at the moment. Anyway, that's it. We've done and dusted for this morning. Thank you to everyone who commented on the channel. Thank you to everyone that's going to wear it like that, like a hoodlum in the house. Right. Thank you to everyone that's commented this morning. Baz, what do you think about the AGM today? Any surprises? No, there won't be any AGM surprise at the AGM. It does start at 11:30. I'm going to head over to the land of Twitter because that's where any news leaks comes out first. There's usually guys sitting in there on their Twitter talking about what's actually getting said at the AGM. I think Brendan Rodgers will talk about the future of the club. He'll congratulate Ange Postecoglou on the success he had last season. The one and only Lawwell, he'll talk about the fact that the club's in a good financial state going forward, but there is a lot of questions that need to be asked. We will be live at 6 o'clock this evening. We might have someone from the Celtic Trust this evening. I'm still working on that. So they will have been at the AGM. So it'll be good to talk to someone that was inside the AGM today. So on that note, have a